All right, guys, we're talking about mental edge, the strength training, the speed development, the power, personal fitness, athletes, all performance. Who's taking time to really help you with your mental aspect of it, your goals, where you're trying to set up, why you haven't reached what you've gotten? Make sure you guys are subscribed, set up for episode 61 of the Strength of America podcast. We've got a special guest today from LA, and he brought the weather with him.
Strength of America podcast.
All right, guys, welcome back. Bob Davis.
Bobby Davis.
We got Coach U here with us. And want to welcome you out here first to Arizona.
Thank you guys for having me.
It was 80 degrees last week, I swear.
I don't believe you guys.
Now it's pouring out.
Like a rain dance over here.
We want to talk about, as we were talking a little bit about training and performance, and we met 4 years ago at one of the speed summits out there in California that Athletes Acceleration put on. It was fantastic. We had a lot of great people along the way. And as we talk about it, the strength training, performance, all of that, yes, we're getting better at that. But whoever talks about the mental aspect of it, of helping people reach their goals or figure out why they're having trouble reaching their goals or not even know what they are.
Right.
I think that's a big part. And I think as we talked a little bit, this is the subject today. See, I told you, the top guys here with us too.
That scared me a little bit. a little thump in the chest there.
Tell me a little bit about what has kind of brought you to that part of thinking of, because originally trainers were all thinking just muscle, we got to work this, we got to do that.
Yeah.
But what brought you to thinking, man, we need to focus a little bit more on that and you can help more people that way?
Yeah. My journey's been a little different than a lot of strength coaches because I've been a personal trainer in LA now for like 8 years. Yeah. So I haven't really worked with a lot of athletes right at the beginning. It was just a lot of, gen pop and people who weren't really athletic, basically, which want to lose weight and, get stronger. And over the years, meeting different people and seeing different modalities and stuff, like you kind of adapt and you adopt different things and like you start to learn. I think the biggest struggle that I had though was honestly trying to fit into being a trainer. Like I didn't feel ever like I was man enough or like big enough, or I didn't have the muscles, or I didn't have, anything that I could offer to other people. And then once I started like realizing other people were just putting people into random positions or different exercises because they've seen things out there, online or wherever, books they've read. And then I was like, well, wait a second, that's not even like matching what that person needs or wants, right? And then I started thinking about myself more and pulling myself out of the situation and saying like, okay, what do I want? What do I want to train? Who do I want to train? What do I want to represent in myself and in my training? And the more I started exploring myself, the more I started realizing like what is being told and sold to us typically is where we're going to go towards. And we tend to not take a step back and think about ourselves. Yeah. And the moment I started thinking about myself, do I actually like this? Is this something that I want to be doing? Is this something I want in my life and my training? And for both my clients and myself.
Sure.
And that was eye-opening for me. Being in a relationship also, my wife, and she's a psychotherapist, so like we had talks a lot about just like how things, blossom and developing real relationships with people. Yeah. And so once I started developing a real relationship with myself, that's when everything started changing. Yeah. So it's easy to say that, but it's like, now what, right?
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah. Every time something comes up for me, I ask myself why, like what's going on? Like when people used to walk in the room, like even for you, like when I first saw you, I was intimidated, right? But I didn't know what it meant. It was just like, oh, and then you put a bad stereotype on this person. Oh, he lifts weights. Oh, he plays football. He must have this mentality. Yeah. And then you like get to know people, and you're like, oh, that's not what it is. Actually, what was going on with me in that moment? Yeah. What about this person brought up something inside of me? Yeah. And then can you reflect on that?
It's a hard question to ask. Not a lot of people can ask those and go through and develop an answer or work on solutions. That's a thing people have to really dig down and cope with themselves with, I feel like, before they can. Yeah, that's interesting.
Now we got too far in there. So were you intimidated when you saw me or just Bobby?
Both, obviously.
Okay, all right.
You for different reasons, right? For you, it was an authoritative thing, right? You're older, you've been around, you know? It's the guns, it's the guns.
We'll bring
I
it back in.
promise.
Okay, we're good. All right, back to the subject. Just checking, because I know there'll be comments on that one. All right.
They're both intimidating, all right?
Yeah.
I was scared of both of them.
I gotta start pumping more, I guess. Bobby keeps telling me, come on, you look like an old trainer, Dad. Let's get going. Well, I could tell you, and that's an interesting point that you talk about with not feeling like you're fitting in or stuff. You know, I went through that same thing while I was at Nebraska. You know, here I am, a little guy out there in the field. Most of the strength coaches, those guys were 200-pound guys, big muscle guys. At that point, I was 150. You know, this little guy out there.
Yeah.
You know, I think what brought it all into perspective a little bit was we're walking around, we're doing stretches. We've got 100 football players out there on the turf. We're going through, getting them set. We're giving instruction. And I hear one of the guys in the background say, take that chicken out of your pants and walk on your own 2 legs, Bob. I realized, oh, shit, yeah, I guess I'm a little small compared to all the big guys. And he's gribbing me, and that's what football players are all doing. But at the same time, they're welcoming me in to understanding, hey, he still knows what he's doing because they asked me to stretch and asked me to do that the other guys weren't doing, because at least I knew what I was doing and get that aspect in.
Yeah.
So that was okay, but I had to go through that of, first I'm thinking, oh, crap, you know, here I'm a little guy back in my
How are
sweatpants.
these guys?
What do I got to do? They're not going to listen to me, because now these players are all 200, 250, 300-pound guys, you know, double my weight. They're not going to listen. But, you know, as we started talking and I got more involved with the guys, they were, you know, I got to see that they were asking me to do some things that they could have asked the bigger guys, but as one of them said, he said, you know what you're doing.
Right.
You know, I know you're going to get what it is, and that's more important. So you have to get past that part and figure it out. But sometimes it's hard. You need an awakening to figure it out. But so that's great you're asking that why and trying to figure that out. And that's where I think not enough trainers get involved enough in their clients or their friends or their people that are right there with them, because they'll tell us everything. You know, I've got clients I've had for 15 to 28 years.
Oh, yeah.
You know, so we're family.
It's like a therapist. At some point, you feel like a therapist.
Yeah,
you're like, I know way more. I way too much about you.
Yeah. And
you know, like
we
it's
get
too
done
much.
with our sessions, and it's like, man, I think it was more. You know, physical stuff was great,
Right.
but emotionally, I got to let that out. We'll go talk through it while we did it, and they're in a better place.
Well, it's interesting you talk about that too, and what you were talking about. First, I'm going to go back to what you said about it's a really hard thing to conceptualize and also to even go towards, because we're conditioned in such a way that we didn't even realize, based on how we were raised, what was put in front of us, depending on who we grew up around. Like, all these things are factors into how we are as adults. Sure. And when we don't look at certain things, we get very defensive, or like we want to fight things instead of being able to take in, like, hey, we have an impact on other people, you know, and that goes in life too, right? Yeah. But like, with athletes and our clients, it's like we have an impact on them, they have an impact on us, and being able to separate the two, understand like that's a separate person who has a separate experience, and it's not personal.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
It's hard to leave emotion out of it, and that's something I'm working on still. To, you know, because it doesn't need to be emotion. And if something needs, it's like Mike Boyle says, if he finds out something's wrong, he's okay, I'm going to change it. You know, it's just like, it's a good mentality.
Because it's not personal, and it's not like a shot at the ego. But once you check the ego and be like, it's not, it doesn't even matter. Yeah. You know, it's about connecting with human beings and trying to create that actual connection and authenticity. And that's where I think that a lot of people don't get enough of that when you work with, you know, not all trainers, but, you know, there's a lot of trainers that don't have that connection. I was one of those for a long time. You know? So
it's different. And I feel like once you get that and you get past those barriers, those people trust you more, and they're just able to get more out of their training because now they maybe understand themselves better. You know what I mean?
For
so
sure.
It just allows a different level that they can kind of get to. Yeah. But interesting.
It definitely takes.
And you understand it's intimidating for a lot of them coming in too to meet with a trainer just as much. And they because now they've got this, or they're going to judge me, or this is happening. And you got to look at why you're there and what's happening.
That right there alone, like thinking about the most basic thing for somebody is going to be the hardest thing. Like it's easy for us, like saying, all right, go do a squat or go do a lunge. All right, no problem. The random person just comes in, probably not going to do it well. Yeah. And like we take that for granted a lot, and like understand that people come in, it's like, oh wow, this is where they're starting. Okay. You know, not good or bad, it's just
you got to find out.
Yeah, and it's kind of putting that into perspective of like, how can you meet them where they are? Yeah. And I believe that all comes from looking at yourself first. Like that's like it all comes back to the self, and like not being a selfish person, but more so like self-exploration. Yeah. You know, I'm a huge philosophy junkie, and like I love that stuff. And Socrates has my favorite quote of, you know, a life unexamined is not worth living. And I think that's So true. It's like what we do, we train people, we see people, we help people. We want to help grow athletes and young men and women and help them become better human beings. But like without that actual connection, it's just sports. You know? It's just sports and it's just training.
Yeah.
But if we can create a better human being, a humankind, like having that connection with somebody, like that's real. That's so real, and that's such a cool thing. Like, have you ever experienced that with your athletes? I'm sure you have too. Like both of you guys.
Yeah.
Just different stories, or some of the thing it may be a little bit different. I've had, and just with training kids, where I had a kid that was a lineman at our school, and next thing I found out from his mom, a year later, he's lost a bunch of weight. He doesn't drink soda anymore. He exercises every day, and you're just like, wow, that's pretty cool. Just to make those impacts. That's just, because it's not just about training. Most of my kids at my school aren't going to go to a college, even if it's a small college. So it's just, are they going to continue to exercise and worry about their health for the rest of their life?
Right.
So and by means of doing that, it's just creating a relationship with them.
That's it.
So that's it. Yeah, that's the fun. It's a lot more fun.
What's real, right? It's right here, and it's like, that's cool. Like I can lift all the weights in the world, but like that hits me harder than anything else.
Exactly.
We had those kids, the big ones, or even the baseball player. I think about, probably from 10, 12 years ago, a little kid out there, and he was the sweetest kid, good kid, not thinking top athlete or anything going out there, but he wanted to be better. He was a pitcher, wanted to do things, but every time he got on the mound, he lost it. He started crying, he couldn't throw, he started just with that fear that was going on. And he'd hyperventilate and go through. So I got him through that, and we got through a few sessions, mainly because we got into, I had to find a way to reach out to him. And part of it was I had to create that stress that he wasn't getting. We were helpful, things were going, he's great in that controlled environment. But when I picked up my tone, and we picked up what expectations were of and all that, you could see him start to go through that, which is what I needed to get him to, so I could get him to learn how to take that breath, take control, realize you can handle this. No matter what happens, it's okay, but you do this to go through it. So we had to get through that. We had the tears back and forth. And I could see a corner of my eye, mom's starting to come down as he starts to do it. But then I turned to look at her, and she knew I didn't have the face of, I'm going to grill on the ground. We're trying to find that answer. So I saw her step back and things and watch the process. And it was great. And then he started getting into that. And then I heard, as he was going back, he was pitching, he was getting back on it, and he was solid. He just had to find that way of taking control.
Yeah.
And all I could do is get him, the basic thing was just telling him to take a deep breath as much as you can. And keep going, and keep going.
Yeah.
Now hold that. Now let that go.
Slow yourself down.
What's going on with the heart? And he just did that. As soon as he did that, went through it twice.
Yeah. And
that was his process. He'd go through that twice each time, just before he got out there. Once he got on the mound, before anything happened. He said a little weird at first because everybody's pausing like, why aren't you doing anything yet?
Sure.
But he got through that, and each time he'd do it, he was in control. His body wasn't taking control of him. His mind wasn't taking control of that, and he was fine. So you just find those ways, but it does. It feels good to help them get through those things.
Yeah.
And from that level, or just helping them understand what they can achieve.
It's that being able to like see the person and see them for the way that they cannot see themselves, because I think that happens a lot. We get in our own way as human beings all the time. I mean, how many times have you guys sat down and be like, no, I can't do that, or I'm the worst in the world, or like you're in that bad place. I call them the demons. The demons every once in a while come out, and it's like, how do you tolerate those? And that's something I've learned in the past couple of years, of just being able to tolerate feelings and understanding of them, because I think it can be overwhelming sometimes. I mean, look what we're doing. Look what's going on right now with this pandemic, right? Like, it is scary, and it's also like it's not all bad and it's not all good. It's like it's the black and white thinking, and there's got to be an in-between gray zone, but that gray zone's really scary for people to be in because it's not one or the other. Yeah, it's uncertain. It's like, I can love somebody and also hate them at the same time because I'm really mad at them right now. Yeah, right. But it doesn't take away like who the person is, and I think that was something that it was said to me one time by a good psychologist. She's a friend who's a psychologist, and like. She's like, right now people just have kids. It's really just kids. Like they have trouble tolerating their feelings. It's not just kids, but everybody. But like, if you were able to settle down of the feelings and the thoughts and what's going on cognitively, you're able to really find the source of the answer or the problem. Come up with a solution. It's not always going to be there, but you can at least start to go towards things. Little by little, shave it down, have a better idea. Peel the onion. Yeah, just little by little. Yeah, and eventually, and this is what I was saying earlier, is just that doors started opening up that I had no idea were even there. Sure. And started appearing. I was like, oh, I can do that, and I have this to offer. And then owning what I had, owning what I didn't have was even more important.
Sure.
And not being shameful about that. And I think that was the other big thing too, was like, don't have shame about the things you're not good at. In fact, be excited about that, because that means I get to learn something from somebody else, and then I might get to teach something to somebody else too, because we all have things that we get to teach each other and learn from each other, you know? And I think that as a guy or as a man in the world, it's like, it's a hard thing to be able to set that pride apart, because we were taught not to do that.
Sure.
But that's my, like, I want to keep doing that. I want to keep instilling that. So we're all human beings. Like, let's help each other out in any possible way we can, you know? That's all we are. We're just humans, man.
So what are some of, you've got an athlete, you've got somebody that's trying to get into, how far in the process are you working with them before you start breaking into that? Because, like I said, going in initially, they can be, intimidated by what's happening, not knowing, or just, all I want to do is lift and get strong and powerful.
Sure.
Okay, don't get in my head or what. So I don't know, it's different for everybody. What do you see in your process as you're working with somebody?
It depends on the person. So like I do my best to ask open-ended questions and allow them just to speak. And then I go from there. It's just like, see what they're telling you. They will tell you what they want. They will tell you if they're comfortable with something, whether they're not saying it specifically or not, but you have to be attuned to them. But really genuinely taking in the person. It's tougher, obviously, when you have like 15 to 20 kids. How do you do that? I haven't worked in a setting like that all the time, so I can only speak to, working individually. But really genuinely asking questions and then reading the situation. If you know that something's hard for them, talk to them about it, ask them why, and help them explore and be curious with them. And then I tell my clients, I'm like, it's okay. Like, where you are is where you're supposed to be, and we're going to keep going. And if you have questions, let me know. If you just be honest with me, I'll be honest with you. Let's help each other. This is a partnership. This isn't I'm your instructor, drill sergeant. Like, I know what I'm doing, but I also we need to work together. Like, you need to tell me if something's not working for you, so I can then adapt, because it's not a personal thing. And I think a lot of trainers and coaches get kind of caught up in their own, their own headspace, and it's like, well, it's got to be this way. It's like, it doesn't always have to be that way. And especially if you want to make a true connection with the person.
Plus, they know their bodies better than you know theirs.
Absolutely.
Right? So it's how you kind of get the best result out of it, Just, and then it gives them ownership too, and that's something I've learned from working with older clientele, because some, especially they've been through a lot, they know exactly. So then once they tell me, then we can just play around with things, did that work all right or not, and then we just, there's a million ways to do things. So it's just, unless you have that relationship, I mean, you can almost hit a ceiling. So that's where, like you talk about with kids in a big setting, it's not even like, sometimes I'll have groups, and sometimes like if it's a newer kid, just remember their name next time, or or ask them, hey, how's your spring break? What are you doing? And it's just simple and quick. But that's something I've helped. What is that saying? Kids don't care how much you know until they know how much you care.
Bobby says that all the time. I love that. I love what he said, because it's so true. It's like, and I was thinking about one more thing when you said, like, the kids, like, every kid has their own individual experience in that weight room or on the field when they're working with you guys. And if we aren't able to kind of allow them to, first of all, understand that, because they could be getting talked to a certain way at home, that when one of us says something to them, it could hit that note in them, and it brings up something that's already conditioned in them based on how they were raised. And that can deter them from even wanting to talk. Right. So that makes it harder when it's in a group setting. But if there's a way to, like, individualize and try to get to know the kids on a better level like that, that'd be ideal. But I also know, like, time is a tough thing, and space is a tough thing. And
well, that's part of watching the process and seeing. That's always back, when you were saying that we've got to listen to what they have to say. You're kind of leading and you're putting things, but you're not saying, okay, here's what the process, here's what we do, you go through, because you hit that certain word or something that happens, and their defenses go up, and nothing's going to happen from that point. They just don't want to listen. In the group of the kids, it's the same as watching, and you don't do it all right away. It can be over a season, over weeks or months, whatever it is, but you know how they generally act, and you can see certain things. That kid's easy going, but all of a sudden today, he's fired, doesn't take him anything. You get mad at somebody, he's yelling at somebody, something's happened. So we're just trying to, hey, we're here for you, something you can do, or what. You're not in front of everybody, because they're embarrassed about it probably, or something's happened, or whatever. So it's something on the side, but as long as we're aware of that, because I think too many times the coaches, we get caught into so many people that we just, we're just getting through this. Here's the workout, here's what I want to do, we've got to get this many sets, reps, and the workout's done. It's so much more than that.
It's so much more than that. Well, I think too, what you're saying there too, it's like it's always been sold a certain way for us as coaches and trainers. Our job is to do this. This is what we're supposed to do. And at the same time, like, we also have to take in the person in front of us and really see them, because if we don't, you're going to be missing out on so much with the kids or clients or anybody, really.
And that's where, now imagine old school like me, all those years ago.
I can
Those
imagine.
coaches are wrestling coaches or anything else. We talk about the number of injuries I've had. As a wrestler, you didn't really complain about anything that was hurting because, what were they going to do about it anyway? Number one, you're either a wimp because you're complaining about something, or they don't know how to evaluate injuries anyway.
Right.
So you just go and you suck it up and you keep going.
Yeah.
And then you end up with,
Because that's what men do, right?
Shoulders, everything. There's nothing else they can do. So, it is what it is. Now, many years later, 40 years later, now we're understanding about training more. We still have a lot of education to do because, as we were talking about before, it's just that, man, we've got to still, it's amazing to me all these years later, all the information is out there. We still are only grasping part of it as strength coaches that are out there.
Yeah.
But there's so much more. We've got to work on injury prevention. We've got to work on teaching them how to eat, sleeping, hydrating, the mental aspect of it. It's so important because you can have a great athlete, great potential, but if their mind's a mess, they don't know how to get where they're going.
Yep.
They're caught up in themselves and their own worst enemy.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter.
When kids are trying to figure out who they are, too.
Oh, yeah.
And so you just throw a bunch of other stuff at them, and it just makes it so much more confusing.
Oh, yeah. It's like,
you got, especially they got their, the boys and the girls in the school, and they're trying to get schoolwork done, and they got the home life, and then there's all these things that
social media stuff pounding on them. You expected.
I couldn't imagine growing up in today's age. I would hate it. You mess up, you do one thing embarrassing, it's a million views in.
Yeah.
And that kid, who knows? Like, I've seen suicide, I've seen depression, and just they go into dark places, because you're supposed to fit this mold, and it's like, what have you guys seen with kids and like just trying to fit that mold? Like, I mean, I don't see kids all the time. I see them every once in a while, so especially in a group setting.
Well, and my end, with our kids, that's where I've always shown because I worry about what happens to them after they leave me.
Yeah.
The amount of suicide and things in college-age kids and things that are happening and so many bad mistakes. I tell them I'd rather them fall apart in front of me when you got a support system that can help you get through that.
Yeah.
Rather than the first time you actually come down as you got that college coach, you go back to your dorm room by yourself, you've got nobody there, you can't reach it, you feel like everybody's against you.
Yeah.
That's a terrible place to be. It's not that I'm the bad guy in all the situation, but we're going to put the pressure and find the way that I know if you're going to that point, I want you to be able to handle it. Here's what we do. Let's find that point. I don't want them to break, but I want them to understand. And at that point, I don't know what to do. I feel so frustrated. I'm lost.
Yeah.
Well, what should you do? I should reach out to a coach. I should reach out to mom. I should reach somebody. You're not all alone out there. There's something you can do for it.
Yeah.
It's hard. It's hard to get these kids going on that sometimes and to open up. But if they, like you talked about, if they know you care, they're going to talk to you.
Right.
Because I've got some kids that have told me some amazing things through the years. I'm thinking, holy cow.
Yeah.
Why are you telling me this? But they know I care. I do things, and then enough where I know enough that I will help them get the direction where they need to go.
Right.
But they got to feel they know somebody cares.
And it takes time to build that trust. It's not.
No, it's not a weekend camp.
No. Well, I think too, I grew up with coaches where it was like they demanded the respect. They demanded all these things. Yeah. And I mean, even though it's a kid who's younger, yes, you need to establish that, I am, I'm the hierarchy and all that stuff, but also understand like they are a person and like speak to them in a polite way. And like, I'm still a human. Like, I want to teach you how to communicate to people later in life because nobody taught me that. And I fell flat on my face, and so that is so huge. If there's a way to be able to teach, like, hey, you can have an opinion. You can have an opinion. You can be totally upset and angry with me, but we'd still be respectful about it. And then also have that installation of, I can say like, this isn't a conversation I want to be a part of. Like, if you want to have a conversation, I will, but I'm going to remove myself at this point because it's not something that vibes with my morals or my standards.
Yeah.
And that took a long time for me to get to.
Yeah.
And, it's like, and I missed out on so many opportunities, but, obviously turned out part of the process. Yeah. Exactly. Right.
Yeah. They come around for you.
Yeah, for sure. And like, I wouldn't be here with you guys at all today if I didn't go through that process. I'd be super nervous and just worry about what I'm saying and what I'm doing. Now it's like, I'm just telling you what I've been through, and hopefully it can help relate to somebody else because I feel like that's now my calling, is to help people grow, look, ask why, evaluate, just be curious about yourself. I mean, look, Kobe Bryant just passed away, you know, and that was a huge loss for a lot of people. I personally wasn't like a huge Kobe Bryant fan until he actually retired.
Sure.
I started respecting him so much more after he retired because he started becoming more of that father figure. And then on top of that, with like just the respect for, you won an Oscar, like that's crazy. You were an MVP, you won titles, and now you went into a completely different realm and you won. And so it was just respect. Thing that he always talked about was curious. Be curious. He was just like the most curious person. And through my therapy and through things that I've gone through, it was just like, be curious. Don't be shameful. If you go to a bad place, sorry, it's okay. It's okay to go to that bad place, but then ask yourself why, like what's going on, what feelings are coming up for me in those positions. You know, am I getting angry? Am I getting insecure? Is it a defense mechanism? Is it like, you know, what is it? So just being able to ask that question is really important too. So.
Yeah, it is. I think it's not enough to do.
Yeah.
I say we're worried about our ego or what somebody else is going to think or what's happening. And if we expect these kids to open up and do that, we've got to do that too.
Exactly.
And that's not easy. I can tell you from my old school stuff too, there's things I go through and get it, but we've learned a lot. We've seen a lot of things. And I'm at the point that, you know, oftentimes, and I've got Bobby's my little conscious with some things, because I'm also the old guy trainer that's been doing it a long time, that I'm fed up with the number of injuries happening and things going on, and I can't be the easy in to get these coaches to understand. It's time to bring the 2x4 out, make some statements, make some stuff. You've got to expect more from the trainers, the people doing it, to take care of you and help you, give you the tools that you can become your best. Mentally, physically, everything. I've got no patience for people that don't do it. They do it halfway. So Bobby makes me reel it in every now and then, but not too much. He understands the process and what I have to do too at the same time.
It's coming from a good place though, and I think people always understand that based on your intention. So
and there's stuff, and understand as a young trainer and getting in, there's that cautious too while you do it. You get it set up. I'm at the point there's only so long I'm still doing that, so I'm going to get out and rattle some cages a little bit. That's okay.
Well, part of that's the process of how you coach too, right? And it's like you're saying, it's not coming from a place of malice. It's coming from a place of care, and it's the way that you know how to communicate. You know, and some people may not respond to that. Some people do respond to it. So it's just all the language that people speak. You know, and then if somebody does have an issue, it's like, all right, let's talk about it. You know, I'm not a jerk. Like I'm here, I'm laying the smack down, but it's a happy smack down. You know? And if it's coming from a good place, people know that.
It's that process of here, hammer, get to your face. Here's what we're going to do. This is why I'm upset. But then here's the solutions. Here's what we do to make that happen.
Teaching.
So that helps those that are, you know, like, I'm not too sure about what he's saying. Then now as we go through it, it's like, oh, okay, well, that makes sense. I understand, because now I've got their attention. Because if you go through the process, they kind of dozing off in clinics and doing things because they're not paying attention. But you get their attention, they want to know, why is he saying that? What's going on? And it helps. That's what helps when I do my things. So, but again, you got to each find your own way in what you're doing. But I think it's great that you're doing so much of that mental aspect, the stuff you've been doing, Instagram and all that. You get a lot of great stuff, a lot of great drills, a lot of great exercise, a lot of stuff going on. But like you said, your philosophy, the thing you throw into the why, and just like the pandemic going on now, you know, what you got on your story the other day, and putting all that stuff to yesterday, and really just help them step back and go, wait a minute, let's put all this in perspective. And yes, there's things you should be fearful, things are going, but there's also a lot of things that are under my control. If I'm in that risk category, no, I shouldn't be going to the big mass public thing. I shouldn't go to this concert. I shouldn't go to the casino, hanging out with all those people, touching everything.
Exactly.
Stay away from that. That's fine. But the younger ones that aren't in those risks and things going on, just common sense. You know, wash your hands, go through that flu season, don't be shaking hands and doing all this stuff. Or if you do, wash your hands afterwards and get it set up. But, you know, be respectful about what you're doing for yourself. If you're the sick one, don't go out with everybody else. Respect these other people and stay home. And that's why some of these events, I think we're causing more scare by stopping all these things. Instead of a simple thing for me would be, you know, let them know, say, hey, look, I know you've got all these tickets going on. If you are sick or something's going on, think about the other people. Let me know. We'll refund your money for your ticket, but we don't want to ruin it for everybody else at the same time. If we can do that. I think of all these athletes that are not being able to take advantage of their national, their year-end competitions, all these things that they're training and they're ready to go. I worry about these Olympians getting ready. Are they going to call off what's happening with it?
That one's killer. Just thinking about
that. It's
a
4-year thing. It's not like you got next year.
Longer. I mean, you know, like thinking about just the training that they put in for their whole lives, you know, to get there. It's tough because somebody actually responded to the stuff that I posted on Instagram yesterday about the numbers. And the reason that I posted it was because of the pandemonium. People were going like crazy. Yeah. Like even there was a weird, eerie feeling. I was in LA yesterday, like with my clients and stuff in the gym. And it was just eerie. A weird feeling. Like you could feel the energy was just different. And I was like, okay, I just want people to know what the actual numbers are, right? And somebody responded, it's a good friend of mine actually, and we had a conversation about it. He's like, people aren't numbers. I was like, I get that, but this is so people can put things into perspective. And then today I posted something saying like, I posted the numbers for this. We do have a responsibility still to make sure that we're not spreading this, because it can stock up the hospitals and people. Like, let's say somebody needed a surgery tomorrow, but we're such short staffed because people aren't really paying attention. So it's like, it's what you're saying. It's like, don't panic, and also you have to take responsibility. Don't. If you have elderly folks that are your friends, and like the young kids, we're not affected by it, but we could be carriers and we could be hurting somebody else. And so it's just being conscious and make a smart decision, and don't just think about other people. Think about what the smart move is.
And it's funny how people, like you said, they give by one thing and then they'll fire off because of this. So you said it wasn't what you meant. But one dying is too many always in any circumstance.
Of course.
But if we panic and everything, what's happening to the economy, I'm thinking about also all those people that are the vendors that are selling peanuts at all these events, and the ones that are making T-shirts for these, and all these different things. But now they look forward to that event. Now there's no income for them.
Right.
That hurts, and it's their family, which then they don't have the money to kick back into the economy and do this and that. And it's not money is the main thing, but again, all this matters.
It matters.
It's not just a simple, it's okay, or we need to do that, or stop going out to these. We have to think about all these other things at the same time.
Absolutely.
And make your best decision.
Yeah, it's all we can do.
Got kind of switched off of your thing with the app, but I just those things I think are so important. We've got to keep thinking. That's our mental part of how we deal with things.
Yeah.
How we deal with stresses. How we deal with emotions of positive, negative, everything.
Yeah.
They have consequences always.
Yeah, and we all react based on how we were raised to do so, right? How we were conditioned, whether it was by accident or on purpose. I think most of it's unconscious.
Yeah.
Most everything that happens when we're, as a father, you can only give as much as you knew, right? And I look at my father and my mother like that, like they're great people. There's a lot that I didn't get, but that's just the reality. It's not like a knock. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like that's just their reality. They're immigrants. They came from their country, and like they're hardworking people. They raised really good kids, and there was a lot I didn't get. There was a lot that I wish I had gotten, and I also know that they didn't do it on purpose, right?
Yeah.
And even people who do things poorly, parents who aren't very responsible for their kids, it's like they're still taking care of themselves. Like they're doing the best they can, which, for some kids that sucks, but that's just the reality of it. And if I can spread a message to any trainer, any coach to just be able to look at yourself first and foremost so that you can build a better connection with whoever's in front of you, just take a step back instead of reacting. I've been so much lighter. I've been less stressed. I've been excited to do things. Whereas I was just in a depression for like 2 years. And it's a real thing. People, especially as guys, we're not supposed to talk about this stuff. Men
just builds out.
It's like, all right, well, I want to be a man who can cry. I want to be a man who can talk to other men about feelings. I want to be a man who can, ask questions and also be reflective for another man. Like, because we're humans, and all in the end, it's like, what is a man? So like, I think that's a big journey I'm going through right now too. It's like, what is a man? Like, what is masculinity?
It's not again. That's hard. That's why we've got our Nebraska version. Then that's why I had to bring LA in to kind of get us a good mix of where those things are, because there's a little difference.
It's everything, right? It's a good balance. We got to have the balance.
It is. You've got to find that and got to keep into it. And I think that's where it's so important that we need to do more on a trainer, strength coach, performance coach, anybody going, parents in general, of just being able to read what those things are, help the ones we're trying to help, find out what those roadblocks are, what are things that are standing in the way, what do they really want to get done, how to help guide them, not do it for them. We want to make sure that they can do that. And I think it was interesting. I had a few of my clients that are in their 80s bring this up. They said they're seeing all this panic happening. And so much of the statements from the young and all these things going on of just do this or close, or we need to go socialism, we need to do this, or whatever you want to do. But they're thinking, these are kids that have never been through anything yet, really. These are ones that have gone through depression, World War II. I've got a World War II vet in there.
Yeah.
You know, you've
Vietnam,
gone through all these things.
geez.
Yeah, you've got all these. That's
Racial
really going on.
issues.
They didn't, even with 9/11, they were too young to even really know what was happening.
I was in
then.
8th grade then. I don't
So,
remember any
yeah,
of it.
you've got all of that happening. These are things that are major, but they're just panicking over these things and think we need to do this. It's like, come on. It's important to listen to the older generation and kind of find out what's going on.
Absolutely.
They're still coming in the gym. I haven't had anybody stop coming in. So mine are 70s, 80s, and 90s that are in here.
Yeah.
And they're not afraid of the gym. They know we keep it clean. They know what we do here. They also know if they're sick or not feeling well, they don't come in.
Right.
And we'll understand because nobody wants to pass it to anybody. They're not panicking.
Yeah.
A couple of them just go to Santa Barbara for a wine fest a week ago. And they were going in there. And they weren't worried about what was happening. And yeah, they're in that age group where they should. They don't have any underlying health, but at the same time, they're in that 80 age bracket.
Right.
So they've got to worry about it. But it was a wine fest, and they got a good deal, and they're going to have a good time at the time. So they had fun, and that's okay.
It's
They're
tough to
enjoying
enjoy
it.
life, and
So let's
you get
put
to make that
everything in
decision.
perspective.
It's that. I mean, I think it's the biggest thing. Like you're saying, like it's an emotional decision, and
Yeah.
I think like let's just say this is like I know somebody who was playing basketball at a park, and I asked him actually. So let me back this up. I was like, hey, you want to go play basketball? I'm going to go to the park over here. And he's like, I can't actually go to that park for a while. And I was like, why? What happened? He's like, oh, I went down there and I remember when my hand was hurting the other day. Well, I actually punched a guy. And I was like, oh, you're 31 years old. Like, what are you doing? And then I thought about it more, and I was like, okay, he's doing what he knows, and it came from a place of not stopping and just thinking. Like, I've never been a violent person. It's the reaction, right? It's just being able to go, like, I've played sports. I've been hit. I've been punched in a stupid way. Like, I've been hit in places. I'm like, that shouldn't have happened. But I also have not fired back. And, like, thinking about the retaliation, just going to that place of, like, why am I doing this right now? What's going on? Like, why am I going to punch this guy in the face? What good is that going to do? Now you got a broken hand. You can't work well. There's all these other things that are going to happen that could happen from it. Instead of just taking a step back, breathing it off. And this can relate to kids going through any tough times or like feeling like the world is crushing them down. I get that for sure, because it can feel like 1,000,000 pounds on your back at times in life. And the best thing you could do is cry it out if you feel like you need to. Listen to some music, write, talk on your phone. You have a freaking phone. Put it on a story on Instagram. I don't know. Do something that lets it go out and talk it out. Get a friend and say like, hey, I need to just vent real quick. And whatever you need to do, look at the stuff surrounding the situation and the feelings and all that stuff, so you don't punch somebody in the face and then regret it, or for God forbid, get into a fight where it causes somebody to be really injured or ruin someone's life or kill somebody. That's how these things happen, and it's because we're not taking a step back and just checking ourselves.
Especially kids, talking about learning just about repercussions of doing things, or learning from, okay, now I understand this situation. Now when I get a job later on in life, I can't just cuss out my boss because I don't want to do something. So it's just, especially for younger kids, learning how to cope with things that, it may not sit with you well, but sometimes that's just how it is, and you have to figure out how you can navigate yourself through the situation to best serve you. But and
as coaches too, like I think it's important that we explain that there are bad times where those feelings are going to come up. And here's what we have done, or like maybe relate to them to say, like, yeah, this is how I processed that. I've been in that spot. You have your own experience. I don't know what you feel like, but I can tell you from my own experience, like, I felt really shitty. I'm sorry.
No, you're good.
Bleep. I felt really just bad, and I don't know what to do in those moments. So they don't either. They're learning. And so, like, it's really important as coaches to be able to talk to them about that and say, like, hey, there are other things you can do. If that means you go shoot hoops for an hour, think and talk, and just I can't advocate for mental health enough. Like I think it's such a healthy thing. I go twice a week. I've been doing it for 5 years, and it's expensive. But if you're a parent who cares about your kid and like wants to give them the space, and you don't feel like that's out of our scope too, Sure. So like I can't, like, if you don't have that mental side, the physical side can sometimes feel like it's never going to happen. But even obviously as you get higher into higher levels of athleticism, like it's really fine line, and that mental breakthrough can be because you're not looking at something in your own self, or exploring the self, and I think it's so key.
Yeah, and I think that's where for your end, talking about that made me think more about we're focused so much on giving them the tools to become a better athlete, be stronger,
Right.
reach that certain vertical jump or whatever they're after. But by giving them those tools and helping them understand what happens when you hit this point. When you feel helpless or you can't do this or you just want to reach out, what do you do? I mean, what are the steps? What do we do? Do we step back? But if they have an idea of, okay, I can feel that coming on now.
Yeah.
I remember when Coach John was saying, here's what I need to do, and I need to step back or take that deep breath, or you know what, excuse myself for a second, do a lap, or go out and do a few up downs, get that heart pumping, get that going, let it go, and realize it wasn't that big of a deal. Yeah. So here's now what I do to overcome that and get better. I think that's fantastic. You're doing so much to help those athletes and the clients you're working with, because that is one of the biggest areas I think that's overlooked with most trainers and stuff that I've seen and been around for so many years. Is a lot of them don't pay attention to that part, and that's what keeps kids and people from reaching their goals, whether it's athletics or their job or going in to ask for that raise, or the stress and anxiety we feel is almost always worse than what it really is going to be.
Yeah.
But we anticipate the worst. We don't anticipate, oh man, this is going to be the best. He's going to give me that raise we're going to do. We think, oh man, if I ask, he may fire me, or I may do this. Or when that was never on the guy's mind. He's like, would consider it, or he'd give you a raise or partial. You don't know, but we tend to go to the negative first. Yeah. And always the worst negative. Not a little bit. We go way off. Sure. Which causes all that anxiety, and then the performance goes down, or marriage, or all these things happen. We've got to be able to learn and let that stuff go. Yeah. And how to overcome it, I think. It's not just ignore it and let it go. It's how to get past it.
When you were talking about that, like, wait for that to go. That is loud.
It's like monsoon right now.
Oh, baby.
It's going.
Wow. That is a powerful thunder. I like it.
We're hitting on the subject, I think.
Yeah, he's agreeing with it, I hope. The mental, like, go back real quick. You were just saying something about... it's self-ownership. Yeah. It's being able to see the weaknesses that we have only create strengths. Yeah. But it's so hard to look at the weaknesses because it's as though it's defining us. Yeah. But we are both. We are both strong and weak. And if we are able to see our weaknesses and understand our strengths, then the strengths are just going to get stronger, and now your weaknesses become strengths. Yeah. And it's so hard to look at those things, though, because people go to a shameful place. And like you were just talking about, like going to that place of, I used to do that all the time. Like, I can't do this. I'm not good enough. Sure. But once I started owning what I am good at and putting value into myself and saying like, oh no, I'm really good at this. I do not know anything about this, but I'm going to go read about it. I'm going to go learn about it. I don't have to know everything. I just need to be like up to par a little bit,
conversation.
And once that started happening, and I'm able to be happy for people now, and not envious and not jealous. It's like, oh, I'm genuinely happy for you guys. Like in the past, you guys have your podcast going. Like I'd be like, man, I should be doing this. Like I don't know why I haven't done mine yet. And I'm still toying with a lot of stuff and like how I want it to look. And I'm like, I'm so happy for you guys that you guys are doing this now. Like it's so cool because it's giving so many people a platform to be able to open up and talk about these things. And I wouldn't have done that had I not been able to just look at myself and been like, yeah, I'm not great at this. I'm good at that. I'm going to keep doing that. And I'm just going to be myself. The world needs more you than they need a repeat of somebody else. Yeah.
And that would be Coach You.
That's right. Own you, baby. Own yourself.
Yeah, that's awesome. Appreciate all that stuff going in. Website, what's the best way for them to get a hold of you for more questions?
Instagram's the best. Like, Instagram. My website's up. It's CoachUStrong.com, but it's a work in progress still. But Instagram at CoachUStrong. With the letter U. At CoachUstrong.com is also my email. You can access all that through Instagram as well, but I got tons of content up there, and I'm going to keep pumping out more. So
we'll make sure all the links and stuff will be on there too. We'll make sure we have that for you so you can get out to them. But he's definitely got on his Instagram. He's got so much stuff and content every day. He's pumping things out, and I'm still trying to figure out how he does all the words and all the things.
I don't even know how I do it.
I started doing that, and I said, forget. I'm just going to put the basics on so they get it. I got to know me, and that's what I do. It's just the basics. We'll go in. So I really appreciate everything coming out. It's been fantastic having you in there.
Appreciate it.
That's good. And
thanks, guys.
Thanks for the rain. It's been good. Man. We need it in the desert. It's
so peaceful, nice. Though. The rain is.
Guys, thank you. I appreciate everything. Make sure you reach out to Coach and any questions, things going on. He's got online programs. He's got if you're in LA, just good to talk to, or message and comment on his stuff. He'll get back to you and make sure he can help you any way he can. So thanks for being a part of the Strength of America family, and we'll see you on the next podcast when we get it done.
Whenever,
Thanks,
later.
guys. Appreciate it.